But sure, I'll let you tell us more about the specific words and kind of.
I sidetracked. So Waterford Irish then. So in many ways, it's similar to the rest of Munster, and it tends to get sort of pushed in that bracket of Munster Irish. And in those features that I've mentioned, it is very much in line with Munster dialects. That stress shift is very much what you see elsewhere as well. But the Waterford Irish is also distinct in many ways from the Irish that you get in Cork and in Kerry, and there are kind of good sociolinguistic and historic reasons for that. Probably if we think on a kind of historic basis, the Irish spoken in Waterford was most likely part of a different dialect band to the Irish spoken in Cork and Kerry. So, if you think back to when Irish was in its pomp and was still the main language throughout most of Munster, I'm talking here about the 18th century and maybe into the 19th century as well. There was probably on the one hand a dialect band that stretched from the Blackwater River. Now the Blackwater is the border there between Waterford and Cork. And it stretched then all the way across Cork and into as far as West Kerry, including the places that are now in the Gulf today in Cork and Kerry. Now, I'm not saying that the Irish that was spoken throughout all of that band was the exact same. There were differences that were happening along the way. There were subdivisions, but they were sort of a type. They had shared features, and where changes did occur, they happened gradually rather than abruptly. Now, the Blackwater, though, when you cross the Blackwater into Waterford, things probably would have changed quite rapidly. We have some evidence, for example, from the type of Irish that was spoken in parts of East Cork. And what it shows us is that things change quite quickly from East Cork into West Waterford, despite the fact that they're really close to each other. They basically border onto each other. So while that dialect band from Cork to Kerry, you probably had features changing quite gradually, when you crossed the Blackwater, it was very abrupt. There were lots of changes happening, and they happened quite quickly. So for that reason, we can say that the Waterford dialect is probably part of a different dialect band, despite the fact that it's really close to East Cork. It's quite different in many ways.
And this dialect band, I've never heard this term before. Is this just used to describe kind of how different regions have a dialect essentially, and how it...
It's just, you can talk about a dialect continuum as well, where, they're changing gradually as you go along, but a band or a strip or something like that. It's just a way of classifying ways that people speak. So in Munster, you probably had that one stretching across South Munster, Cork and Kerry. We might talk, if we talk first about the features of Waterford Irish, it might make more sense then to come back to the other that Waterford Irish was part of, because there was probably a different band that the current varieties of Irish in Waterford belong to. So will I tell you a little bit about those, will I?
Yes, please do.
Okay,